Do you have any message for Ukrainians who, after 3 years of fighting, might feel betrayed or disappointed at not having a seat at these initial talks in Saudi Arabia?
Well, they've had a seat for 3 years and a long time before that. This could have been settled very easily. You should have ended it 3 years. You should have never started it. You could have made a deal. But they chose not to do it that way. And President Biden, in all
Did he just say Ukraine started the war? Okay, this is crazy. Oh my God. That is the president of the United States of America saying that most people online, most liberals online assume is my position on Ukraine. This is an insane thing to state, especially as the president of the United States of America. Let's watch this other dumb talk about his new executive orders before I get back to all of the government incompetence.
Here, I guess we can take a couple of quick questions. Go ahead, please. Please.
Hearing that Russia wants to force Ukraine to hold new elections in order to sign any kind of a peace deal, is that something that the U.S. would ever support?
Well, we have a situation where we haven't had elections in Ukraine, where we have martial law, essentially martial law in Ukraine.
Yeah, I wonder why. Come on, dude. As critical as I am, like, come on. I wonder why they didn't have elections in Ukraine.
Blown to smithereens. You got most of the cities are laying on their sides. The buildings are collapsed. It looks like a massive demolition site.
Wow, I can't. No way. They had
so many of the
no way. They had martial law in Ukraine. What happened? I wonder what happened in Ukraine that caused them to have martial law. And before people say there were elections during World War II, please, dude, please. It is one of the few instances where it is permissible not to hold elections. Like, come on, chatters.
I mean, it's literally, these cities look like Gaza. Actually, many have percentage-wise more buildings knocked down.
Ironically enough, if Donald Trump actually was not a moron and wanted to talk about like the illiberal aspects of Ukraine, he would talk about like banning leftist parties under the auspices of saying that they're pro-Russia. That on its own, again, is a thing that the American government has also done in times of war, ironically enough. But that is, in my opinion, a greater indication of lack of liberalism, regardless of the war, the unjustifiable invasion of Ukraine or not. But he doesn't care about that because that would require him to assume a stance that is openly partisan for leftist ideology, I guess.
He's given $100 billion, and we've given, let's say, 300 plus. And it's more important for them than it is for us. We have an ocean in between, and they don't. But where is all the money that's been given? Where is it going? And nobody, I've never seen an accounting of it. We give hundreds of billions of dollars. I don't see any accounting. So
he's talking about Ukraine like he talks about Hamas. Yeah.
You know why I want?
Because he is brutally honest about American foreign policy. American foreign policy literally discards most of our allies, okay?
Where they're from on the whole planet. And I think I have the power to end this war. And I think it's going very well. But today I heard, oh, well, we weren't invited. Well, you've been there for 3 years. You should have ended it 3 years. You should have never started it. You could have made a deal. I could have made a deal for Ukraine that would have given them almost all of the land. Everything, almost all of the land, and no people would have been killed, and no city would have been demolished, and not one dome would have been knocked down. But they chose not to do it that way. And President Biden, in all
fairness, did he just say Ukraine started the war?
He was so bad for this. He was so bad, so pathetic.
Did I misunderstand what he was saying? Hold on, I got to run it back.
And they're running of it. We give hundreds of billions of dollars. I don't see any accounting. So I want to see peace. Look, you know why I want? Because I don't want all these people killed anymore. I'm looking at people that are being killed, and they're Russian and Ukrainian people, but they're people. Doesn't matter where they're from on the whole planet. And I think I have the power to end this war. And I think it's going very well. But today I heard, oh, well, we weren't invited. Well, you've been there for 3 years. You should have ended it 3 years. You should have never started it. You could have made a deal.
No, he did. Oh my God. He literally said Ukraine started it? What the I think he's talking about EU being upset that they hadn't been invited. I mean, he's literally saying you should have never started it. Is he talking about the EU or is he talking about, okay, this is crazy. Oh my God. Bro, this is crazy. What the Yo, Donald Trump is saying that all of my haters think I say all the time. That is the president of the United States of America saying that most people online, most liberals online assume is my position on Ukraine. This is an insane thing to state, especially as the president of the United States of America. Ukraine, in this circumstance, is the least responsible party for being invaded. I would go so far as to say that even American interference probably played more of a role than Ukraine in terms of who started it. The number one responsible party is Russia. Obviously, they invaded the country, and Ukraine is not even remotely responsible for this. Sorry, that's ridiculous.
I could have made a deal for...
And neither is Europe. Europe just literally listens to the United States of America. What the is this take? That is crazy.
For Ukraine, that would have given them almost all of the land, everything, almost all of the land, and no people would have been killed, and no city would have been demolished, and not one dome would have been knocked down. But they chose not to do it that way. And President Biden, in all fairness, he doesn't have a clue. What he was so bad for this. He was so bad, so pathetic, so sad. But with all of that being said, look, it is what it is. When I left, there was no chance that this could have happened. But it happened because we had incompetent leadership at many different levels. But when you see what's taken place in Ukraine with millions of people killed, including the soldiers, millions of people killed, a big percentage of their cities knocked down to the ground. I don't know how anybody even lives there. You know, when they say they took a poll and Zelensky's at 4%, who's living there? You know, I mean, people are, it's hard to believe.
This chat is so funny. If China was working with Mexico to encroach on our borders, we wouldn't invade. Dog, you're saying that right now. Donald Trump is unironically saying that. Like, he hasn't gotten to that part of the equation yet. He just says, oh, he has to tackle the cartel or whatever. But like, yeah, this administration has a lot of appetite for bombing Mexico. And my answer is no, we shouldn't bomb Mexico, let alone invade it. Are you insane? Hello? What are you saying? That is a psychotic. Why would you come up with a psychotic position that basically is the Trump administration's position and then bring it in here and be like, huh, you think insert psychotic position to the Trump administration? You think you wouldn't be in favor of that? Yeah, no, I wouldn't. I wouldn't be in favor of that, actually. What are you saying? Insane.
That would be a capitulation of some sort. How would you guard against potentially Russia installing a puppet government? And then finally, how would that new election have an impact on getting Zelensky to sign the rare earth minerals deal?
Look, you have leadership, and I like him personally. He's fine. But
not as much as he likes Putin, though. Jesus Christ.
The job done. You have leadership now that's allowed a war to go on that should have never even happened, even without the United States. Look, we had a president who was grossly incompetent. He had no idea what he was doing. He said some very stupid things, like going in for portions and all of the things. He made a lot of bad statements, but he's grossly incompetent, and I think everyone knew that. This is something that should have never happened, would have never happened. And I used to discuss it with Putin. President Putin and I would talk about Ukraine. And it was the apple of his eye, I will tell you that. But there was never a chance of him going in. And I told him, you better not go in. Don't go in. Don't go in. And he understood that. He understood it fully. But I'm only interested. I want to see if I can save maybe millions of lives. This could even end up in a World War III. I mean, to be honest with you, you've been hearing now Europe is saying, well, I think we're going to go in and we're going to go. All of a sudden, you're going to end up in World War III over something that should have never happened. And, you know, it's a very sad situation. Yeah, please.
In a court filing, the White House said that Elon Musk is not a DOGE employee and has no authority to make decisions. Can you clarify for us today
well, Elon
what his
Musk,
exact role is there?
Yeah. Elon is, to me, a patriot. So, you know, you could call him an employee, you could call him a consultant, you could call him whatever you want. But he's a patriot. I mean, look at the kind of things I just said. Just write it down, just in case that question got asked, right? And which I'm surprised it took so long, actually. But you know what? Ukraine's a bigger deal because people are dying by the thousands a week, thousands. But look at this, from 90 to 99, Social Security, 6,054,000 people. Well, that's okay. Maybe that's possible. You know, 90 to 99, maybe it's possible. It's a lot of people, though, at that. People that are 120 years old up to 129. 3,472,000 people. Wow. You know, that can't possibly be, because the record is like, I think it's one person, a woman, lived to 127, but they have 3,472. Okay, but now we're going really in. People from 130
I haven't even gotten
old,
to this part of the broadcast yet, which I'm going to talk about in a little bit. This is also incorrect. Once again, lying is so overpowered. Please nerf. Lying OP. Please nerf. This server is busted. Lying is far too OP. Please nerf. Mods!
Now we're really going, because we're looking to break the record by 25 years. People from 150 years old to 159 years old. 1,345,000. These are in the, by the way, these are in the computer files. This is what they do well.
The worst part about this is just like the government is run by incompetent morons, and they're just actively lying, and people don't have any critical thinking skills and quite literally just go, that makes sense. Yeah, I hate the government, and my favorite guy is just saying this, and he's saying it in a way that like agrees with my existing biases, so I'm going to believe him. F you.
People from 160 years old to 169 years, 121,000. So 160-year-old.
I don't think he's actually lying. He actually doesn't know or understand how that works. Yes, but
6,000.
Elon is lying. Like, they're stupid, but they're still lying. They're lying to the American public. The idea that there are 400 million people currently getting Social Security benefits is wrong. It's just not correct. You are not interpreting the data correctly, because you're a idiot. There's an answer for this, and I will explain to you why this inconsistency is now being presented as what the government is doing.
But now let's go into the real numbers. From 200 to 209 years old.
So now you're smarter than Elon Musk?
879 people.
What?
From 210 years old. I haven't met any of them. And if I did, I would bless them. I would worship the ground they walk on.
I'm smart enough to understand that when a bunch of 19-year-old coders actually come to me and say that there are more people on Social Security payrolls than there are people in the United States of America, I'm smart enough to go, this seems like a false interpretation of the data. That's just a little bit of critical thinking. So clearly, I guess in this instance, and just this instance alone, the answer is yes. That's it. When someone talks about a person, for example, getting Social Security payments that literally from a time when Social Security as a concept didn't exist, the idea that someone has been getting paid Social Security payments for a longer period of time than the existence of Social Security means that I am looking at the data falsely. I am interpreting the data incorrectly. Yes, I know it's the programming language. I haven't gotten there yet. The 160-plus-year-old stuff is because the programming language they used, COBOL, which is super old, apparently, the defaults to January 1st, 1950 or something if a date is missing. Yes. If there's incomplete data on the dates, it automatically assumes that it's 1875 or something, okay? Or 1850 or something. Yes, I know. I read the Wired article as well.
And there's one person that's 360 years old. That's just that. And then, where's the money being spent, right? Let's go into that for just a second. $520 million for a consultant on the environment. $520 million. Somebody got $520 million for an environmental, sounds like an environmental study. That's the most, I've always been one that paid a lot of money for my environmental studies, but they, I paid like $50,000, not $520 million. $10 million for Mozambique voluntary medical male circumcisions. $10 million for circumcisions in another country. $9.7 million for UC Berkeley to develop a cohort of Cambodian youth with enterprise-driven skills. In other words, let's teach them something about enterprise. What about our people? Can't we teach them about enterprise? $2.3 million for strengthening independent voices in Cambodia. $32 million to the Prague Civil Society Center, which is a very liberal group of people. Wonder how much of that money
These
came
guys
back
are
to the
so
people that
he's so
approved it.
dumb.
$14 million for
He's so
improving
dumb.
public.
I wonder what the reasons for why we have these civil society organizations that we are funding. much to consider here. Maybe because we want to make Serbia woke, I think.
Money. They're one of the highest taxing countries in the
I
world.
wonder if we'll talk about Israel at all in this process, by the way, in terms of
I have
expenditures.
a lot of respect for India. I have a lot of respect for the Prime Minister. He just left, as you know, 2 days ago. But we're giving $21 million for voter turnout. It's voter turnout in India. What about, like, voter turnout here? Oh, we've done that, I guess. We did 500 million, didn't we? It's called the lockboxes. By the way, I could read this all day long. I could go on all day long, and you'll see hundreds of billions of dollars, and we're doing it. But when I saw the Social Security numbers, I said, wow, that's really something. So we have, let's just go above 100 years old. We have millions and millions of people over 100 years old. Everybody knows that's not so. We have a very corrupt country, and it's a sad thing to say, but we're figuring it out. Now, the good thing about Social Security and what I read is if you take all of those numbers off, because they're obviously fraudulent or incompetent, but if you take all of those millions of people off Social Security, all of a sudden we have a very powerful Social Security with people that are 80 and 70 and 90, but not 200 years old.
Mr. President, what can you tell us about the CIA drone flights over Mexico? Is this the next step in the war against the cartels?
Well, we're going to see.
Should they have authority to take lethal action?
Mexico's allowed a tremendous number of people to go through their country into ours, and even people coming from Mexico, and illegals, totally illegal. But I will say this, we're dealing with Mexico. I have a very good relationship with Mexico, but Mexico, if you look at what's gone on with Mexico for years now, but now especially it's run by the cartels, and they've allowed millions of people to come into our country from jails and prisons of other countries from all over the world, not just South America, Africa, Asia, all over, a lot from the Congo in Africa, a lot. They opened their jails, they came in through Mexico, and we have some of the worst criminals coming in from the Congo and other places. So it's not just South America, and it's not just Venezuela, but they opened their jails. And you know the crime rates in Venezuela and other places all over the world has gone way down. You know why? Because they've given us their prisoners, they've given us their drug lords and their gang members, and it's hard to believe that we accepted this. It's hard to believe that we allowed open borders, and we're taking in, hundreds of thousands and millions of people coming in from all over the world. They're absolute stone cold.
It's pretty crazy that all of these violent criminals from all around the world are coming to America, and yet instead of doing crimes, they're actually, unironically, through their presence and their proclivity to do less crime, as opposed to the existing natural-born U.S. population, lowering the crime rate in the United States of America across the board. It's crazy. I guess like when they come to America, they just no longer want to do crimes magically. They're like, oh yeah, well, we got jobs here, so no reason to do crimes. I guess that's what it is. America, truly the nation of rehabilitation. The DOGE team is finally posting examples of where they've cut spending. This one claims $8 billion in savings, bottom figure, but if you look at the fine upper print, the contract instead is valued at $8 million. What did they even cut? They cut U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, Investigations and Operations Support Dallas, U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement Equal Employment Opportunity Funding Office. Okay, I'm going to be honest with you. Once again, lying is OP. Lying, especially due to incompetence, is doubly OP because when you are stupid, you don't even realize you're lying, which makes it easier for you to lie.